Welcome back to my content. I'm going to be talking about my study notes for brain and behaviour. I just want to give a shout out to my fan Hawkster, who said it was the best video that he had watched on neurotransmitters. It warms my heart to hear that, and I hope you can enjoy more than 10 seconds of my content and be in for a riveting time as I learn this. Okay, guys, so what is gamma aminobutyric acid? Well, I'm so glad you asked. It is the major inhibitory neurotransmitter. Okay. What does an excitatory transmitter do? They depolarize the postsynaptic cell membrane, making action potential more likely. What is dopamine and how does it work? Well, dopamine makes us feel good. It's an excitatory transmitter. It's involved in voluntary movement. It gives emotional arousal and reward and learning. So hopefully you are getting your dopamine hit from watching my content. Plays a part in reward pathways. And it plays a part in addiction. So just be very careful watching this video. I don't want you being addicted. What are neurotransmitters and what do they do? I'm so glad you asked. They are chemicals that transmit from one cell to another, and they increase and decrease the neurofiring. So, what do inhibitory cells do? Inhibitory neurotransmitters depolarize the postsynaptic cell membrane. And what do excitatory transmitters do? Excitatory transmitters hyperpolarize the membrane. Remember that. What is the GABA aminobutyric acid involved in? Otherwise known as GABA. I'm learning along too. So, that is involved in learning, memory, and sleep, and regulating anxiety. Understanding causes highly reactive nervous systems. So, patients with panic attacks have 22% lowered concentration of gamma. Okay. And what do many anti-anxiety drugs do? They actually bind to the GABA receptors. What is an excitatory transmitter? It is dopamine. The good stuff. What are the four main lobes of the brain is divided into? So the occipital, vision, temporal, hearing and language, parietal, touch, movement and spatial location, frontal, support higher order functioning, such as voluntary movements, attention, memory, and social skills. What happens with an overstimulation of dopamine? It leads to hallucinations and delusions. And often people with schizophrenia have too much dopamine. What is cognitive neuropsychology? It is a branch of cognitive psychology relating to the structural function of the brain, relating to specific psychological processes. What is the peripheral nervous system? It consists of nerves outside the brain and the spinal cord. It transmits between the central nervous system and the rest of the body. Tell us about the peripheral nervous system. Buckle in, there's a lot to learn. So, it's divided into two components. The somatic, voluntary control movements, transmission of the transmission of sensory info, pain receptors, and enables speech and walking. The autonomic nervous system is involuntary body processes. How many components of the peripheral nervous system is it divided into, and what are they? It is divided into two, the somatic and the autonomic. What does the parasympathetic nervous system do? Well, the parasympathetic nervous system supports recovery, maintenance, function, and often referred to as rest and digest response. It slows the heart rate and stimulates digestion, and it conserves energy. What does the activation of the sympathetic nervous system do? The activation of the sympathetic nervous system increases heart rate, blood pressure, dilates the pupils, suppresses non-essential functions such as digestion. What is behaviour? It's a response of an individual or a group. It relates to what a person does, able to be observed, seen, and measured. Relates to inherited and learned characteristics and referred from actions, thinking, remembering, and feeling. What is the purpose of psychology behaviour science? The purpose of psychology behaviour science is it enriches lives, benefits society, study of the brain connection and behaviour, applies findings to improve the world around us, empirical methods gather and analyse data and address society complex issues. What is biopsychology? Biopsychology is the physical basis of psychological phenomena such as motivation, emotion, and stress. What is the socio-cultural perspective? The socio-cultural represents a modern approach to psychology, social interactions, cultural dominance of behaviour, and mental processes. So, tell us about the history of psychology. What are some of the historical schools of thought? Well, there was free will versus determination, how mental and physical interacts with the mind-body problem. Willem Wundt found the first psych lab in 1879. Two schools of thought, there's structuralism and functionalism, and there's free will or determination. What is structuralism? Well, it's the basic elements of consciousness through introspection. What principles do psychodynamic perspective rely on? So, the principle number 1, actions determined by thoughts, feelings, and desires. Number 2, mental processes are in competition, leading compromise amongst competing motives. So let's say it again. Mental processes are in competition, leading compromise amongst the competing motives. Number 3, mental events outside conscious awareness. Number 4, Sigmund Freud emphasized unconscious mental forces is psychoanalytic theory. And number 5, many associations between feelings, behaviours, situations expressed unconsciously. So you just might not be aware that you're expressing those behaviours and why. What is the humanistic perspective? It focuses on the uniqueness of an individual. It assumes people are motivated to become self-actualized on Maslow's hierarchy. Carl Rogers' therapy emphasizes goals and being client-focused. What is the behaviorist perspective? Well, it focuses on objects of events in the environment. Behavior is controlled through learning. And theorist Skinner observed that behavior can be learnt through consequences either being reinforced or decreased, like through punishment, likely decreasing the likelihood of it reoccurring. What is the cognitive behavior perspective? Well, it focuses on how people receive and process information. So Rene Descartes' early philosophical questions led to cognitive psychologists emphasizing the role in creating knowledge. Modern-day psychologists use experimental procedures underlying mental processes. What is the evolutionary behavior perspective? Well, the evolutionary behavior perspective argues that behavior tendencies in humans, such as needing to eat, concern for children, is because of it helped our ancestors survived and reared children. It supports Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, adaptive survival traits that help ancestors adjust to the environment. 2 more. If you're still watching, I'm very surprised, but I hope it helps you learn too. What is neuroplasticity? It suggests that the brain is a dynamic organ, continues to develop and change itself in response to neural environmental behavior experiences. And what is neurogenesis? It's the process by which neurons can be produced or repair themselves structurally or biochemically in the central nervous system. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope that if you chose to watch this, that you enjoyed it.